The first 3 hours of the flight had been calm. Then a sudden turbulence and a strange announcement followed. "We need your attention. The plane is now under our control." Ibrahim Traoré had concealed his identity while returning from Paris to Burkina Faso. Now, on the hijacked plane, he was being held hostage, along with 182 innocent passengers. The hijackers were negotiating from the cockpit with negotiator $10 million and the release of 3 prisoners from Lante prison. This was their only condition, but if they knew that Ibrahim Traoré was sitting in seat 178, their demands would have been very different. Air France flight OF 726 from Paris to Ouagadougou had begun as a calm afternoon journey. The plane was filled with mostly French tourists, business people, and Burkinab returning home. In seat 178, by the window, sat a man in simple clothes, a dark shirt, blue jeans, and sporty shoes. He wore a baseball cap and sunglasses. No one knew he was Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional leader of Burkina Faso. After his secret diplomatic meetings in Paris, he had decided to return to his country without drawing too much attention. He thought that official flights required protocol were announced in advance and posed a risk. The plane had entered my airspace when the flight attendant, while serving hot drinks, suddenly noticed 4 passengers standing up. At first she thought it was an argument, but then she saw the gleaming metal object. A gun. In an instant, the frightened flight attendant dropped her tray, hot tea spilling everywhere. "Nobody move!" shouted one of the men, speaking in Arabic with a French accent. "We've taken control of the plane, follow instructions, and no one will get hurt." Ibrahim Traoré watched the situation calmly. From his security training and military background, he knew that the first moments in such situations were the most critical. Guns were drawn, panic spread, and violence might be used to gain control. 2 of the hijackers quickly moved to the cockpit. The other 2 positioned themselves at the front and back of economy class, keeping the passengers under control. People were silently crying, some praying, others clinging to their phones. "We will collect your phones, tablets, electronic devices," announced the man at the back. "Don't resist, or the consequences will be severe." Traoré quickly slipped his phone into the side pocket of the seat. The hijackers had not yet systematically collected electronic devices. They were trying to establish chaotic control. The hijacker, who had returned from the cockpit, stood in front of the passengers. "Now listen to me. This plane is now under our control. Our demands are simple: $10 million and the release of 3 prisoners from Lante prison in France. If our demands are met, you will all be able to return to your homes." Traoré studied the man's eyes. He was tense, anxious, but determined. He wasn't a professional terrorist, but rather someone with ideological motivation. Hours began to pass. The plane, deviating from its normal route, was circling over Mali. The pilot, under the hijackers' instructions, was staying airborne to gain time for negotiation. Ibrahim Traoré was observing the passengers around him. Next to him sat an elderly Burkinab woman who was trembling. A few rows ahead, a mother was trying to calm her 2 small children. Across the aisle, 3 French businessmen were whispering anxiously. "Don't worry," said Traoré quietly to the elderly woman beside him. "Everything will be all right." "You're Burkinab, aren't you, my son?" asked the woman with tears in her eyes. "Yes, mother. We will all return home," said Traoré confidently. A hijacker came out of the cockpit and began talking to another. Traoré could see their tension even from a short distance. Something was going wrong. With a sudden decision, one of the hijackers grabbed a passenger, a middle-aged French man, and began dragging him toward the cockpit. The negotiations are not being taken seriously. He shouted, maybe if we send a hostage, they will listen more carefully. It was at that moment that Ibrahim Traoré had to make a decision. He could reveal his identity and offer himself as the most valuable hostage. This could save the other passengers but might plunge his country into a major diplomatic crisis. Or he could remain silent and wait for the situation to develop. Traoré decided to stand up, but before revealing his identity, he decided to make one last move. "Stop," he called out in a strong but calm tone. You know that negotiations take time. Sudden decisions can lead to bad outcomes for everyone. The hijacker looked at Traoré with surprise. He pointed his gun at him. "Who are you to tell me what to do?" "I'm just a passenger," said Traoré calmly. "But I know how negotiations work. Resorting to violence makes it harder for you to get what you want." The hijacker paused for a moment, then approached Trey. "Why are you so confident? Who are you?" he asked, still pointing his gun. "I just worked as a diplomat," said Trey without lying. "I know how agreements are made. If you want, I can help." Motivations. "First, everyone needs to stay calm," he said to the negotiator and the hijacker. "What is the goal?" "The release of 3 prisoners and money." "Correct." "Yes," said the leader. "Our brothers are being held in Lanto. We want them back." "Who are these brothers of yours?" asked Traoré carefully. "Malik al-Zim, Riyad, Hamoudi and Omar Benani," said the leader. "They are not terrorists. They are freedom fighters. They were accused of helping the Traoré uprising in Mali." Tree immediately recognised these names. The 3 men had been accused of attacking French military facilities, but they had also become symbolic figures protesting French neo-sea colonial activities in West Africa. "I understand," said Traoré. "And what is the purpose of the money for more struggle?" said the leader. "Until France's presence in Africa ends." Traoré had understood the ideological motivation of these men. Anti-colonial sentiments were strong across Africa, especially in West Africa. He himself had similar thoughts, but certainly not through violence. "May I know your names?" asked Traoré. "I am Yusuf," said the leader. "These are my brothers, Hakim, Jamal and Ahmed." "Yusuf," said Traoré, "I can help with the negotiation, but what is your goal? Hostage processes are usually long and complex. Governments, especially. France want to appear as not giving in to terrorism." "We are not terrorists," Yusuf responded angrily. "We just want justice. We are fighting against the colonialists who suck Africa's blood." Trey nodded. "I understand you. Have you thought of another way, maybe a political statement? An application to an international court?" "We tried those ways," said Yusuf with a bitter voice. "Nobody listened. My brothers have been in prison for 7 years. We couldn't wait anymore." Trey was forming his strategy. These men were not professional terrorists. They were ideologically motivated people who felt desperate. Maybe he could convince them, "Well, what is your plan? Even if your demands are met, how will you escape? Have you thought about that?" Yusuf and the others looked at each other. Their plan wasn't fully developed. "We plan to land in Mali and cross the border from there," said Yusuf in a voice not entirely confident. "They will catch you." "Immediately," said Traoré. "There will be special forces where the plane lands." Traoré could see the uncertainty in Yusuf's eyes. "But maybe there is another way," he continued. "I can help as a mediator. Perhaps we can bring the situation of the prisoners to an international platform without resorting to violence." "It's too late," said Yusuf. "We have already taken this path. There's no turning back. There is always a way back," said Traoré, lowering his voice. "But first, the passengers need to be safe." At that moment, a voice came from the cockpit radio. The French negotiator wanted to talk. "Yusuf, we are evaluating your demands. but we need more time to build trust. Perhaps you could release some hostages. Children, the elderly. Yusuf thought for a moment, then nodded. Okay, we can release the children and the elderly. But first I want fuel. The plane will need fuel for landing. Let's get the fuel in Mali, said the negotiator. Head to Bamako airport. There you can release the children and the elderly. Yusuf agreed. Traoré could see the man's inexperience. Landing in Bamako meant losing control. There would be special forces there, and when the plane was on the ground, an operation would be inevitable. The plane changed its course toward Bamako. Ibrahim Traoré, still in the cockpit, watched Yusuf and his friends. They frequently talked to each other, their tension increasing. "Are you sure about this?" asked Traoré calmly. "When you land in Bamako, you will lose control." "What do you mean?" asked Yusuf suspiciously. "When you land for fuel, special forces will be ready. They will conduct an operation. This will be the end for you and your friends." Fear appeared in